Welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about surrendering. Normally when it comes to energetics, I talk a lot about influencing energy. I talk about the possibilities we have to use energy to better our health, better our wellness. Today I'm going to talk about the power of surrendering, which is quite the opposite of energy work, but it is a form of energy work. So instead of talking about how we can use energy in certain ways, think of what happens when you decide to let energy work on its own. And when you do this, you're allowing energy to play out its natural process. I talk about natural processes of energy in a separate video. It's a short clip, but I'm going to put the link for that video in the description. When we talk about surrendering, this is not something that a lot of people like to do, for obvious reasons, right? Because when it comes to surrendering, it's difficult for us. It's difficult to surrender to our circumstances, to be honest with ourselves and in what we've created, and surrendering to what isn't serving us. So then we can evaluate those things more clearly instead of constantly fighting against it. Because contributing to the fight against the energy keeps the energy around, because you're giving the energy something. One thing we need to understand is that whatever you're contributing energetically is still a contribution, and energy only sees it as a contribution. Therefore, the energy will give you something of a similar frequency to what you're giving, and it's not always going to be the same thing that you receive, but you will receive something similar energetically. So when you decide to stop fighting against something, you actually step into the role of the observer. And by surrendering, this is actually a good way to clear spiritual blockages, karmic cycles, just ancestral trauma. Being able to surrender to these things allows you to take a step back and see things from an observer perspective. Your spirit is the observer. So now you're jumping into your spirit. You're no longer using any of the minds that I talk about in my other videos. The minds meaning the energy centers, the chakras. These are mind states. And a lot of the times we're jumping into those as a spirit because we are using a certain way of thinking or a certain mentality to get through situations or to communicate with other people. But when you decide that you're not going to jump into any of those mind states, now you're taking on that observational perspective. You're just seeing energy play out for what it is, in and around you. You're surrendering and you're allowing energy to go about its natural process to correct itself. So you're actually doing a service to the universe when you decide to surrender. I know it sounds crazy, right? Because fighting is something that we want to do. It's something that we think we need to do. But deciding to no longer participate or deciding to no longer fight for something, you end up being able to observe things for what they really are. And when you decide that you're not going to contribute your energy towards something, you will see what's actually meant for you. You will see what path you're going down, because the lens that you're seeing your experience through isn't being filtered through one of those energetic centers. It's not being filtered through one of those chakras. For instance, when I'm trying to accomplish something, right? Let's say I'm trying to I'm going to pick an old issue because I've learned how to surrender more now than I used to. So in my past, I would be heavily in my ego, right? Which means I would be fighting to prove myself in a lot of cases, like fighting for validation, fighting for someone to notice me. And by doing that, I was being, not only was I being seen a certain way by other people, but I saw my world a certain way. And I was seeing through my ego. I was seeing the world through that filter, okay? Another example, let's do a more recent one. I'm seeing things through my heart space these days, more than ever, okay? So now when I observe my circumstances, I can see the world around me play out how it's going to naturally, and yet feel so grounded with myself because I know that what's true to me is right here with me, okay? So these are how the filters of these different energy centers work, okay? They are filters, they're mind states, they're something that your spirit tunes into and sees the world through, or uses that energy center to act on something. The acting is usually ego-based, but when I decided that when I decide that doing something or seeing something a certain way isn't serving me, I step into that surrender. I step into that observational standpoint. I let things play out around me how they're going to. And when I do that, it's almost like things start working in your favor because now you're just one with the flow of energy. You're just in this flow state. This flow state is so important. Like once you understand flow, then it's almost like you get into this rhythm of either receiving, or you are able to give something that you wanted to give, or you're able to be seen in the way that you actually wanted to, because you're no longer fighting energy with energy. As I stated, if you're contributing something to energy, it's just going to give you something of a similar vibration. Not the same thing, just a similar vibration. Or just something that complements that vibration. It doesn't have to be the same energetically, it just complements it. And by surrendering, you can see what kind of energy you contribute and what kind of energy you've been receiving that complements it. What kind of energy you are giving and how the universe is responding to you. So the power is in surrendering. How do you surrender? You surrender with these very simple things that we can all do, but we normally have a hard time accessing. You start by being honest with yourself, with where you're at, with your positioning. Not honest when it comes to you trying to analyze everybody else. You know, you will never understand the world through another person's perspective. You have your own set of eyeballs for a reason. It's not your responsibility to confirm anything for anyone. People have to confirm things for themselves. So all you have to do to surrender is to step back into that observational perspective and think really honestly. This is a good time to do inner work. Inner work is a form of surrendering. Inner work promotes surrendering because it forces you to see things for what they really are. And if there's a call for you to do something about it, then the answer will come. But if you are trying to do things without doing the inner work, you're going to be using one of those filters, those energy centers. And normally people see with their one of their chakras, or two of their chakras, which is usually like the ego or the sacral. And by seeing through those energy centers, your viewpoint is very limited. Yes, naturally we use the third eye chakra, but we only really see what we've been able to expand on, and not many people expand all that much. Probably now more than ever, people have been expanding and accepting more of the spiritual aspects of life, but normally people have their own bias, so they're not expanded enough here to see things clearly. If anything, like, if you have a bias towards something, you're only going to see it that way. I made a video on it. I'll put the link for those videos in the description if you want to know more about energy centers and chakras and all that stuff. But when you decide to step back and you're honest with yourself and you do inner work to find the honest truth within yourself, you're actually doing a service for the universe. Like, you're allowing the universe to, you're allowing energy to play out that natural correcting process, that natural process of correcting itself by you being honest. That is a form of natural correction, energetically speaking. And by doing that, you're now in a frequency, you're at a frequency, or you're at a vibration where you can either align with other energies that way, that are that way, and can complement your energy, or the universe will guide you to a situation where now your energy is useful and can contribute in some greater purpose to correct another energy that needs that correction. Energy will do that. Sometimes it's not always going to play out awesomely. Like, it's not always going to be awesome when you surrender. Sometimes you do end up where you're meant to be. It doesn't always mean it's your end all be all end point. It just means that your energy is complementary to contribute to the natural correction process at another location or at another place. Hopefully all that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is, when you step into surrender, that surrender state where you're not using any of these filters to do anything, like, let's say you're meditating. Of course, we all know the benefits of meditating. If you don't, then I think you should go look into it, because if you haven't meditated all once, you will find that you are always in this fighting, whether it's with yourself or with other people. You're probably always fighting for something. You probably always feel like something's always on your back. You probably feel obligated all the time to certain things that is everything else but you. You always feel like you have to be somewhere. Something else is always going to take your energy. But when you actually do sit and meditate, it's you surrendering and giving yourself a chance to see things for what they really are, see things more clearly. Okay? And it's not always that you have to use these eyeballs to gain clarity, because a lot of the times what you see out of these eyeballs right here, you're looking for some kind of external validation for something where the answer already lies within you. The answer already lies within you, but you're using these eyeballs to find the answer all the time. I'll tell you now, things aren't always what they appear to be. Things really aren't always what they appear to be. Usually either your gut, like your solar plexus, or your heart will know things faster than the physical will manifest it. Anyways, so I hope this video was eye-opening to the power of surrendering. I can touch more on that if you leave a comment and you did like this video, but I just wanted to share. Hope you take care.